thinking about it. Afternoon, everybody. Charlie here from Qual. We're joined today with... Oh, God, I've forgotten your name. I want to say Neil? Neil.
Neil Martin.
There we go. Put me on the spot. Neil from Panda here. He's going to go through everything Panda Security has to offer you guys out in the big wide world. Obviously, the weather's not great today, so hopefully, guys, you've found a nice cozy spot indoors to watch us. And I'll hand it over to Neil to take over and go through Panda.
Hi, thanks for that, Charlie. My name's Neil Martin. I'm the marketing manager for Panda Security. For those that don't know, Panda Security, we're a long-standing Spanish-based security company. We were founded nearly 30 years ago. In fact, June the 26th will be our 30th birthday, so we've got plenty of experience in the field. Within the security industry, we're known for being an innovative company. So, I mean, there's been a number of keystone things that we've implemented in our products that have rolled out to become as standard across the field. So everything from daily signatures to network deployment tools. We were one of the pioneers of cloud antivirus and also one of the first traditional security vendors to combine endpoint protection with the new EDR technologies that's out there. We've been doing this very, very successfully, as I said, for 30 years. Growing rapidly within the UK and European market and into America, doing so well that we've recently been targeted by network security vendor Watchguard, who have recently acquired us. So it's going to be very exciting times with Panda Security providing all of the endpoint device protection and Watchguard providing all of the network security. The amalgamation should be very, very successful and deliver us a great combined portfolio. So more on that to follow on. Obviously, it's important that we work closely with our partners. Qual are one of the ones that are also a Panda Security and a Watchguard partner, so it'll be really easy for them. But if there are Watchguard partners that are looking to move to Panda or vice versa, then it will be good for them. But I'm here today to discuss with yourselves and with Charlie some happenings within the cybersecurity landscape, especially with regard to what's been occurring in 2020 and the last few months that's had a massive impact on everybody that's working. I know that a number of us have moved to more dispersed working environments, an awful lot more remote working, which is obviously good. It means that we don't have to furlough so many people. But some of the views that have been happening recently is the increase in remote working has massively affected the infrastructure that's available. So remote workers, they're much, much more likely to make use of shadow IT. So it's been said that 68% of remote workers are using personal devices to do work for their employers, and making use of not necessarily authorized technologies. It might be video conference, instant messaging, file storage and cloud storage locations and data sharing places. And all of this move can it obviously increases the network footprint, it increases the perimeter extension, and it can lead to greater exposure to hacking and malware infection. So obviously this move to cloud computing, it's been on the whole fairly successful. We've seen Office 365 boosted its numbers. We've seen, of course, Zoom going absolutely ballistic and thousands of people getting to know it and making use of it. And these cloud computing tools are really, really useful. But we have seen that because there's no longer a clearly defined company perimeter, which people can secure as a single point with a nice network firewall or something like that, people need to be protected wherever they are, whatever they're doing, or whatever device they are doing. So this dispersed network infrastructure is something that's really, really impacting IT and business at the moment. The second point that we're highlighting in our reports is the use of artificial intelligence. So recently there's been a huge pickup in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. Lots of it is being used within the security sector. So we use it for looking at threat intelligence to digest the vast amounts of security data that's out there and turn it into relative security information. This used to be something that would take up a massive amount of security analyst time, but now by using AI and ML to train the models to go through all the data, it frees up an awful lot of their time. And artificial intelligence, when it's used correctly, can be hugely beneficial, indeed an absolute requirement when it's being used properly. But you do have to take into account the fact that if it's not used properly, we're always hearing words of data buckets not being secured properly on cloud computing. Well, artificial intelligence is very similar. If it's not deployed correctly, you get a huge number of false positives, you get lots of false negatives as well, where it's not properly trained. So you have to have it in place and defined to what it's doing. We're also seeing a growth where we're seeing adversaries, we're seeing hackers start to make use of machine learning and AI in their malware development, in the deployment, in moving around networks, and indeed trying to consume the vast amounts of data that they're seeing there. So AI and ML is extremely useful, it's extremely powerful, but it does have to be used correctly. A recent survey said that 80% of IT leaders have or are already looking to deploy AI-enhanced cybersecurity. But in the vast majority of cases, it is to augment the existing security layers. AI is not the panacea that's going to solve everything within security. It does have to be in there to augment what you already have. So therefore, it has to prove to be efficient and effective, work together with it, and not be cost prohibitive. So these are things that we're having to look at. With the increase in remote working, we're also seeing a massive rise in phishing techniques that are going out there. So nearly half of remote workers, maybe because they're working beyond the traditional network perimeter, are receiving numerous phishing emails and attacks. A vast proportion of them are related to the coronavirus pandemic, or offering news on it, or cures for it, or supplies against it. And if everybody's trying to keep up to date with everything that's happening with regard to the pandemic and the isolation. So anybody accidentally clicking on a link or downloading a malicious content from these phishing emails is a root contributor, and they can lead to massively infected devices and compromised business data. Sorry, excuse me. The old favourite, ransomware, is proving to be just as prevalent as ever. We're seeing lots and lots of recent high-profile victims, everybody from Pitney Bowes, Honda, Grubman, Shire, Messiless and Stacks, who are the lawyers for Madonna, Lady Gaga and Elton John, have not only been hit with ransomware, but they had the data exfiltrated, and the hackers are saying that they'll be releasing it onto the net if they're not paid. All sorts of public sector bodies are constantly being impacted. So the Texas court system recently got hit. But even those that should know better, so IT giant Cognizant has recently been massively impacted by this. And other people that are technologically adroit in other sectors. So we've seen crypto faucet provider CoinPot went offline last week, and half of their faucets are only just coming back online now, a week later, but they've done an excellent job of it. It does seem like ages. So at the start of this year, we heard the news that Travelex, the international currency exchange, had been hit by a ransomware attack on New Year's Eve. So they were offline for a little over a month. You might have noticed it if you were going on any winter holidays, because Travelex provide currency exchange for numerous banks, including HSBC, Santander, Lloyds, and also the local currency exchanges that you might have seen in your Tesco's or Sainsbury's store or Virgin Money. So for a while, it was a great difficulty to get hold of foreign currency, and indeed numerous people that had ordered foreign currency over the holiday period were struggling to get hold of it and being told to get it again. It turns out that following on from that, Travelex did pay the evil gang a little over $2.3 million in ransomware for the ransom to get the decryption keys, but it still meant that they were offline for over a month, only just coming back online towards the end of February, when obviously the travel started to drop down there. As mentioned with some of the things there, the recent trend within ransomware is data exfiltration. So rather than just encrypt all your data locally and hope that you'll pay, what they're doing is they're exfiltrating data prior to encrypting your local data. And this means that if you try and restore from a backup, you might get your network and data back online, but your data is still out of your control, and the ransomware gangs will threaten to publish it on the internet if you don't pay them. This has been happening, particularly with the REvil group who hit Travelex. This may be a contributing reason as to why they paid the ransomware. So, I mean, recently this month we've seen 2 examples of people. So, Alexon, who are an energy provider middleman, they link up the providers and the customers of it. They restored from their backups rather than paying up. But as retribution, REvil published Alexon staff's details, including some of their passports, on the web. The same thing happened to a PPE providing company in Kent that worked for the council and numerous healthcare organisations across the globe. They went down for 6 weeks just when the services were needed most. But because they didn't pay up, REvil published their staff data on the dark web. Not only that, but we've also noticed that REvil are reported to have set up an eBay-style dark web auction site. So if they don't publish your stolen data, what they're doing is they're offering it for bidding to other hackers and miscreants out there to buy company data on a dark web-style eBay site. But it's not just ransomware and phishing that we've seen going on. Something that we've been seeing amazingly prevalent here at Panda is a big rise in fileless attacks. So these are often known as living off the land attacks. It's an increasing area of concern. They're more difficult to detect. They provide stealthy opportunities so that once the hackers got onto your network, they can move around it and identify the data that they want without even appearing on your radar. So literally all they have to do is get on once an attacker's got local, even limited access to your network. This could be through a phishing attack. It could be through an exploit. It could be through a compromise of credential data logging in through RDP or something like that. And these make use of tools that exist on your operating system. So Powershell is king here because it's a massively flexible and powerful tool made use for admins. They can do everything from set up directories, move files around, investigate things, and change user credentials. But we're also seeing numerous Microsoft programs being used for this. So ISS is exploited for its ability to spin up countless websites. Office macros still going strong. They've got the ability to do screen login, key login, execute other processes. So they're very, very prevalent within the fileless attacks, excuse me. And we're also seeing some of the less used tools. So for example, the accessibility tool, Sticky Keys, which allows people with certain visual or physical impairments to make better use of the Windows operating system, can be compromised to escalate user privileges. It can open a command shell with admin privileges. We're seeing the same thing with Windows Notepad. So literally a text editor can be compromised to gain admin privileges. As I said, lots of these things can be caught out by a suitably advanced EDR solution or mainly blocked by whitelisted, blacklisted solutions. But the top 10 most exploited programs that we've seen at Panda are all business productivity apps. So everything from Microsoft, Adobe, the major browser providers, Chrome, Firefox, things like that. Some of the other trends that we're seeing in the recent stuff is worries about compliance. So, complying with GDPR, complying with financial regulations all across the board. These were major 2 years ago, especially with GDPR. We're seeing security issues with Internet of Things devices, worries about nation state attacks, and then, of course, the old good favourite, patch management and cyber hygiene. So what you need to do for this is just to make sure that you increase your network resilience. So, I mean, back at the start of it, I was talking about how Panda Security are an innovative security company. So we were formed in 1990 in Spain, and our original antivirus solution detected 6 samples of malware. And we had an individual signature, like a FBI crib sheet, set up that identified each of these bits of malware. But as the cybersecurity evolved, malware evolved, they developed more and more malware signatures. It became near impossible to have a complete list of signatures for every single sample of malware out there. So we moved from that and we developed heuristics. So we looked at running analysis of the way a bit of malware acted rather than it precisely what it looked like. So like a store detective might notice that somebody's acting suspiciously without actually knowing what a shoplifter looks like. Heuristics look at how a process is acted and try and block it based on known characteristics. However, both of these have got a massive weakness in that all they are doing is stopping things that they believe is bad. So there's a huge risk with all of the unknown things being allowed to run. So from here, what we did was we moved into, I think it was around the year 2010, we realized that cloud computing, machine intelligence, the increase in speed was going to make the current model of signatures and heuristics alone completely unviable. So we started from the ground up a process of providing 100% classification of all known goodware. So what we do is first we block anything that's identified by signatures or heuristics as bad. Anything else that's let go, we use our cloud-based AI machine learning big cloud data systems to automatically classify it as good. A small percentage of this we can't do using the computer systems. They go to Panda Security Operations Center, where the security researchers will decompile it and look at it the old-fashioned way and find out how it's working. But all of this is fed back into the system for continuous improvement. So we're currently at 99.98% automatic classification of any unknown. But we also have 6 billion known goodware and malware samples in there that doesn't come into control. So we're now in a system where no process will run on a Panda computer protected by Adaptive Defense 360 that isn't known and actively classified as good by us. And the head of Panda Labs research says that file-based malware is under control. This is why I was mentioning that hackers are making use of the living off the land attacks, because these are things that are using legitimate processes. So these are processes that operate much more stealthily. We're finding out that these are greatly used because traditional security solutions cannot identify that these are being used for nefarious purposes without a great deal more effort and visibility, which is something that you have to have. So the tools that I mentioned before, the Powershell, the things like that, it's not a matter of if they are being used in your network, but it's a matter of when they are being used on your network. As I said, what you've got is you've got people trying to infiltrate your network. It could be machine tools. It could be a real-life hacker coming onto your network. We've seen that where we've been deploying proof of concepts, which is always interesting to see how they react, whether they fight or flight. But literally, they'll come onto your network either through an unpacked vulnerability, of which there are hundreds every single month discovered. It might be through a phishing attack where they send you an email purporting to come from somebody, or get you to click the link to a website or open a process that's on it. Or it could be that they do some sort of credential stuffing attack, come on through RDP, through Microsoft's SMB server, through any sort of method to get onto your network. And then once they've established a beachhead, what they're doing is making use of these legitimate tools to escalate their privileges. So they might only get on and they might only have read-only or user admin privileges, and they want to get up to being a systems admin, a super admin to do it. And for this, first they'll need to discover the bits on the network where they want to be. So they'll do IP scans across your network. They'll try and find your data server. They'll try and find where your company IP exists. Then they can use tools such as PSExec to engage in lateral movement. They can move across your network, gaining privileges and infiltrating more machines as they go, at which point they've then got to the piece where they want to reside, and they can either do the data exfiltration, they can encrypt your data, they could use your tool your network as a further hacking tool, so do distributed denial of service attacks. It might be crypto mining, not something that is quite as prevalent nowadays, although there was a case of it earlier in the month where they got onto the university website, so supercomputer, and got it doing crypto mining for Monero. But often, once they get there, what they'll want to do is maintain persistence. So they'll either want to maintain a backdoor so they can get in as often as they like, or just sit there and reside stealthily to play the long game. It's slightly riskier that they might be discovered, but it's also slightly more valuable in the fact that they could find something truly, truly golden to you. The problem with people making use of these living off the land or fileless attacks is most organizations are not geared up to detection. You need complete visibility. You need a solution that's looking at everything that's happening across your network, that's able to apply the advanced data analytics and expertise to be able to identify tiny little hacker noises from the sea of user activity that's going on there. So what Panda have got there, in addition to the 100% attestation, is we run automated threat hunting investigation activities. So we're watching hundreds of activities across your network, and it can be to do with the concept in where it's happening. So we're watching the use of Powershell, but PowerShell's happening all the time. But if it's PowerShell that's also engaged in a link to a website, or it's also being made by a user that doesn't normally do it, then it increases the likelihood of the fact that it's a living off the land attack. We keep an eye on Active Directory usage, application and user profiling, and then if we do spot anything that could be potentially malicious, then we proactively warn our customers. So we've got a whole series of alerts set up through our technical support teams out to the customers. So it could be on any number of things from RDP attacks. As I said, this is one of the most common things. So if you've got a remote desktop protocol website facing server on your network, it has to be open. It has to have a port open. And unless you've got a protocol that stops people hitting it with brute force attacks, or you've got multi-factor authentication, then the hacker will get into your network that way. We also warn about unpatched flaws. We warn about numerous other things with regard to this automated threat hunting service. And it's designed to add capabilities to our clients beyond malware and normal hacker activity to try and increase your network resilience as it goes. So I mean, moving forward from this, I'd like to give Qual clients a number of recommendations. This could seem simple and definite for some, but we recommend security, like ogres, is best done in layers. So first of all, patch. If you're patching your network, you're stopping more than 90% of all of the attacks before they can even get there. Ensure that your devices, your software, your applications, and all your services are kept updated. As I said, there are hundreds and hundreds of new security vulnerabilities out every single month. This week, Microsoft released their largest monthly patch Tuesday with 129 security vulnerabilities. 11 of them were classed as absolutely critical and must be patched now. And that's just Microsoft just this month. I think for the last 4 months running, they've had in excess of 100 patches every month. And as I said, that's just Microsoft. That's not Adobe. It's not Oracle. It's not all of the hundreds of other software vendors out there. Next, educate and support your users. Some people might say that they're the weak chain in your security, but in reality, properly educated and supported users are the strongest chain in your security because they have the benefit of human intelligence to be able to do this. So security awareness training when they arrive at the company and regular updates on it, everything from current affairs to just common reminders of it. They say that 73% of workers have not received any IT security awareness training from their employer since they transitioned to working from home. And numerous of them do not receive regular security updates even when they're all together there. Employees also need to know who to contact if they face any sort of IT or security issue, query, question. There must be somebody directly contactable who is friendly enough to point out even stupid questions to. So make sure that they're aware of who they can ask for help and who they can report any issues to. You've got to make sure that you protect your data. So you need to identify your data, you need to monitor, especially PI, personally identifiable information, and company IP. You need to monitor who's got usage to it, where it is, what sort of drive. Is that drive encrypted? Is it in the cloud? Most importantly, is it also backed up and controlled? Backups are valuable to protect against hardware failure, disasters, users deleting their files, everything like that. But as we said, they don't necessarily protect you against data breaches. So if you've been hit by a ransomware attack, often the ransomware would have sat there and made sure that it encrypted the backups before it encrypted and showed up on the main network. Or even if you are able to restore from your backup, you've got to make sure it's regular, it's up to date, and also that the hackers have not got your data, because if they've previously exfiltrated your data, then having it back up, your data is still well out of control. And then lastly, as we've been talking about, you've got to make sure that you secure all of your devices. So in the ideal world, you need to have EDR, you need forensics, you need threat hunting services, you need to install proven layered protection on every single device that people are making use of across your network. And these are my main guidelines for recommendations for people in normal environments and also within the lockdown at the moment. Obviously, they're all available through our partners, companies such as Qual, who will also be able to deliver the entire portfolio with all of the Watchguard content included as well. We're constantly working in conjunction with our partners so they're fully up to date with our system so that they can deploy them out to you and be able to provide protection, be able to provide advice, because lots of it is knowing what to do as well as how to do it. But I mean, if you want to know more about security, then obviously you can talk to Qual or you can talk to us.
Wow, that was amazing. That was awesome. That was so good.
Sorry, I slightly went into one.
And breathe. No, that was awesome. That was really interesting. You have some interesting information. I'd love to just like where you find out all this stuff is just awesome. Like all the, I mean, do you have like a cyber news channel or something like obviously this stuff is on the, I know obviously a lot of things like the Travelex stuff is always on the news anyway, but obviously some of that stuff is just like understanding when these patches and threatenings come out, and obviously keeping on top of them would be using things like Panda's patch management, all that kind of stuff to make sure that they're always up to date. But in terms of how technology is changing and how
I mean, so Panda Security have got a media centre. It's pandasecurity.com/media centre. Here there's news published on a near daily basis. I make sure that I read it all of the time. We also produce regular white papers on everything from the threat intelligence 2020, from which I took an awful lot of what I've just spoken to you about, to recent malware examples, to best practices within the IT industry to make sure that your users and devices are protected as best as possible, because like I say, lots of people might disparage their users as not being a good part of the trade, but if you've got properly engaged, properly updated employees, then they can be absolutely invaluable in protecting your environment. So I am one of the points of contact within Panda, absorbing all of this news and information that comes not just from our security operations centre, Panda Labs, but from numerous other sources. My personal favourite, you've got Info Security, you've got Dark Weekly, and the Register. I love the Register.
This is a great one.
But yeah, keep up to date. I have to produce updates for the internal Panda team. Everybody gets involved in a meeting. I give them all of the updates on what's happening within there, and we recommend it within all sorts of companies as well to make sure that everybody is covered with it, because it's not just the front line in staff. It could be the people within operations, it could be the people within finance, it could be even the people within logistics and personnel and things like that. They are some of the key holders to some of the company's most valuable information, and not necessarily the people that are trained in all of these cyber issues. So yeah, knowledge is power.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, that's been awesome. That's a real good insight to kind of what people should be doing right now. And as you said, you know, a lot of people are working from home, and especially from their own laptops and things. And who knows what kind of level or what kind of patches their own machines are doing, or you know, even what antivirus they might be running, which is kind of scary if your IT aren't in control of someone's home machine. And some people don't want their IT to be in control. So it's good for people to at least make sure that they understand themselves that their machine might be at a risk, or especially with their own personal data, not to mention company data as well.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, lots of people are making use of their home devices to do work from. And sort of a rule of thumb, I haven't got the latest stats on it, is only 66% of people have got a dedicated security solution on their device. It might be they've got the ad hoc Windows Defender in place, but whether or not it's set to update properly. And the vast majority of obviously home users are making use of home user antivirus tools, which will not have anything beyond signatures and heuristics. It definitely will not have EDR capabilities such as attestation, threat hunting, exploit protection, and things like that. These are tools that should be used within business environments, especially when you're home users. So, I mean, for that sort of environment, you can put in place policies to make sure that people connect into your network who have simply updated devices in play. But really, again, that's about educating your users. And if you are able to provide your users with additional licenses from your corporate environment, then obviously they can protect their home devices just as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I found recently the Panda does a free the free home antivirus for home users.
Yeah, we've got a free.
I think it's only just the AV part. I don't think it's not the full blown EDR side of things.
Oh no, definitely not. But it is a sensor. So all of these are a sensor within our network, which means the tens of millions of endpoints that we've got protected globally are all feeding back into our cloud-based system. And like similar to how you get in Formula One, and the stuff that's developed in Formula One filters its way down to normal road cars.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we develop within our corporate and EDR environments is gradually filtering down into our business systems. So anything that our top-level EDR solution detects in a corporate environment as a movement of malware, within minutes will be in our cloud-based system, so we'll be able to protect home users as well. But it just can't pick up some of the more advanced hacking attacks. But then again, consumers are less likely to have the sort of network footprint and availability and the desire of hackers to want to infiltrate quite as much.
Yeah, no, totally. And is obviously with what's going on out in the big wide world, is Panda doing anything like sort of short-term subscriptions or just sort of abilities that customers can sign up for a small period of time just to kind of make sure all their devices are secured whilst everybody's out of the office?
Yeah, I mean, every one of our products has got a trial environment out there for either businesses to try across their network or for consumers to put in place.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, we have a free Panda Dome Free, which provides optimal protection for home users. But again, we wouldn't advise doing work on a home device that's just got that. But you need to talk to your network manager within your company. Hopefully they've provided a direct point of contact, or if not, talk to your next person higher up and get them to do so.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are free versions of our products for evaluation out there.
Okay, awesome. Okay, that's been fantastic, Neil. That's been awesome. That's been a real insight to obviously what you guys are doing, how clever your products really are. I know you said there's some real clever AI stuff happening in the background. I know I spoke to one of your tech guys about the product, and it's so simple. And when there's such a simple logic to how Panda works, it's just it's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is something that we were discussing earlier. So I mean, all the Panda products are developed in-house from the ground up. The adaptive defense solution is a custom rebuild from the ground up. We spent 5 years developing it before launch. It's been in play for 5 years. And it is designed so that it is scalable. So home users can have it one device on the network. All of the products and all of the modules are available through the same console. Everything's delivered as one, and we try and keep it as simple, as intuitive as possible. But in the 5 years that it's been in play, any network that's had Panda Adaptive Defense in it in lock mode has not been infected by file-based malware.
Wow. And okay, that's can't argue with that. That's not going to be that's not going to be. You're not going to compete against that. That's not
No.
That's fantastic. That's really cool. That's really cool stuff. And is Panda got anything they're releasing in the next sort of 6 to 12 months? Are they doing anything coming on the horizon that people might want to be aware of?
Well, as I said, because we're a cloud-based product solution, it's constantly revising. So I mean, we have 2 or 3 major version releases, up to that a year, and numerous minor version releases. So the current release that we've got, our platform's called Ether, that everything runs on, which is the area just above the clouds. So Ether 10 has just come out, and this has got numerous improvements, including massively expanding on our EDR capabilities for Linux and for Mac. So previously it was limited for those devices, but now we've expanded so that you've got forensic reporting going into the back end. You've got a massive amount of visualization going on, so that you can see what's happening in terms of security across your network. It's got other capabilities, especially in our data control module, where it's expanded the visibility of what you can do with PI and with IP data across your network, how you can search for it. So previously we just had it geared up to look for IP data, and then you'd have to put in special custom filters for look for this. But to ease it, then we made it so you can literally search by file extension type, by path, by content that's in there. So you can search for very, very specific things that might be exclusive to your company type or exclusive to your industry, allowing you to control your data. Lots and lots of custom configurations that assist with larger organizations or organizations that are, like now, becoming more dispersed. So it allows you ease of management of various sectors. It could be by geography, by function within the company. It could be by team level. It could be by anything. So I'd like to go into it in depth, but these are things that are happening all the time. And obviously, as I said, we have just finished being acquired by Watchguard. So they are looking to consolidate our solutions into their portfolio over the next 12 months. So it's really exciting for Panda in the fact that we're not only going to get endpoint forensic data, but we're also going to get network forensic data, which will allow us to see what's happening even further away from the machines and apply an even greater level of protection perimeter to things that are out there. Plus, our security operations center and R&D lab being merged with the thinking of theirs, the feedback that we've had is it's going to be good.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a watch this space kind of moment, because next talk we might be doing with yourself might be with Watchguard.
Yeah, I'll have to get a new polo.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Okay, thank you very much, Neil. We haven't got any questions here from anybody, but no, that's been awesome. That's been a real good overview of Panda and everything Panda does and has to offer. So, guys, if you've got any questions, fire over to ourselves or get in touch with Qual. We can obviously have a chat with yourselves about everything Panda does, everything Watchguard does as well. And yeah, we'll take it from there.
Cool, brilliant. Thanks very much for the invite, Charlie.
No worries. Thank you very much for your time, guys.